Hello and welcome to Meadow Bakery. I haven't made a video in a while, but today I've decided to make a video talking about home education. What exactly is it, and why do some people choose to home educate rather than sending their children to school? I will also talk about homeschooling. What's the difference between home education and homeschooling, and is there really a difference? But before we get started, I'm going to talk about these really beautiful tins that I'm going to use today in this video. I buy mine on Temu and they come in so many beautiful colors. You actually bake in these trays, and the set comes with 50 of these, the lid, and a spoon. A spoon, you can put it on there, you can attach it with ribbon. I sometimes attach with ribbon, or if you want the design to be clear, your decorations to be clear, you can actually attach the spoon on the side with ribbon. Today I have 3 colors here. I don't think I'm going to use all 3 colors. I got the pink one and also the blue one. You don't have to order 50. You can order less or more, depending on what you want to do. I'm going to put a link in the description on where you can buy them. So I'm just going to put this away. So what is home education? Well, home education is really teaching children from home, and this can be done at any stage of their lives, in the beginning, right in the beginning, so that they never have to attend school, which I did. Or some people take their children out of school for different reasons. One of the growing reasons for why people take their children out of school is bullying. Children are being bullied at school, and there are no solutions for school. So you find that a lot of times some parents have decided to just home educate their children on their own because they're not getting anywhere with the school. So in a lot of situations, and then there's also this idea that school is the best for everybody, but it's not always the case. So if there's no bullying, some children are taken out of school because their parents feel that it's not the best place for them. Either a child is way behind other children in the classrooms, and then they are left behind, and while everybody else is moving on, which can be very unfair to the child who's behind. And then there are also children who are very way ahead, and they get bored in class because of the work that is too easy for them. And then they're labeled all sorts of things, like they're disruptive, they don't pay attention, and stuff like that. And then some parents just say, okay, that's it, I'm taking my child out of school and do something about it myself. I weighed my eggs, and that amount that I got, I am going to make the same for my butter. And I mix butter and oil just to have fluffy cakes. It makes a difference. Sometimes I make half oil and half butter. Sometimes I use all butter, and other times I use all oil. It just depends. Just not on a particular method, but it just depends on what I feel like to do that day. So I'm going to soften my butter a bit in the microwave because it's a bit hard. It's still quite cold in the morning. I've softened my butter in the microwave, which I left for a bit too long, but it's okay. It's absolutely fine. And now I add in the sugar. As I was saying, there are different reasons why people home educate. I decided to home educate because I did not like the schools in the area that we're living in. And besides that, I also wanted them to grow up with my beliefs and not be contaminated out there with things that I do not agree with. So I decided to home educate them, and it just so happened that the schools were not good enough anyway. So that was a bigger push and a motivator to do it myself. I went to really good schools, but then when you move to a country that you don't know about, you don't know certain things like poor areas or low performing schools, you just think, oh, I'm going to England and everything is fine. It's when you go and actually live there that you notice, like, oh, there's quite a lot of discrepancies depending on where you live, your income bracket, your social class really determines. So because we're new to the country and didn't really know much, we just settled anywhere and everywhere thinking it's all the same, but it's clearly not. When my children got to school age, I did some research in the areas, and then I noticed that the area that we lived in had a 10% pass rate. There's something called league tables. So if you look at league tables for schools, you will see how the schools perform. That's vanilla extract. And the school's performance give you an indication of the area where low income areas, deprived areas, they have bad schools. The teachers, they don't teach as well. The children, some of them don't even speak English. So there's so many other factors that are involved in these league tables. So then I decided to home educate. And I said, okay, they're not going to go to school. I think I can do better than this. So I'm just going to whisk this and together. So that's the sugar, oil, butter, and vanilla extract. With my eggs, I always add them one at a time and mix them really well. Sometimes you can add two, but I'm just doing one at a time. And if you live in a country where you know, or there's a high chance your eggs will go bad, just break them in a small bowl and then put them in there first so that you don't ruin the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so when I've mixed this in, I then add in my flour, which I'll do soon. So with the home education, I decided to just do it myself and do some research. I had met some people a few years prior to me home educating who were home educating, and they had weekly meetups that they had together. And then that's the first time I actually knew about home educating, but I didn't need it until years later. When I looked back, I was like, oh, I remember those women I met years ago. They did home education. Let me look into it. So is there a difference between home education and homeschooling? No, there isn't. It's just that people call home education homeschooling, which is just another word that people use. In other countries, they might call it homeschooling, but I don't like the term homeschooling because it gives an indication or an impression that you have to replicate school at home, which isn't it. The beauty of home education is you can tailor make your education for your child or children. If your child needs is so-called slow in what they would use in school or behind, you will realize at home they're not behind. They're exactly where they're supposed to be. And some children catch on concepts later on than others. Some are just get things quite quickly. So if they're at home, you work with your child's pace and they never have to feel behind. And another thing is you don't have to to stick to a curriculum. Some people have the impression that, oh, you have to stick to a curriculum, the same curriculum in schools, but no, you don't. You can teach them anything you want. And some parents don't even write GCSEs. They choose for their children not to write GCSEs, which can be quite controversial, because some people think, oh, what if they need them later on? But just depends which path those children are going. There are some children or some parents who believe they don't need them. It's perfectly fine for them. And then there are those who think they need them. Some children start their businesses from a very young age, and being at home gives them that flexibility to do that. There are children who start things like woodwork, metalwork, and so many other different things that they wouldn't be able to do if they went to school. I chose to stick to the curriculum because I just wanted those options open, that if I ever decide that they go to school, then at least they can fit in. But I also chose books that are usually used by grammar schools. Those were some of my favorite books because they are more challenging and they word questions differently. They've got things like verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, which I really, really like. Okay, this mixture is ready. I'm going to put them now in my trays. I don't know how many trays I'm going to use because I haven't really... I'm not baking them just for home, so I'm not really bothered about how many trays I make, but at least 5 or 6 or so, probably more. Okay. I think I'll get a few green ones, maybe 3 of these. I don't want to mix up the containers because even though they look similar, the lids don't always fit. You may find that the lids for the blue ones will not fit on the green ones. I've had a problem with that before because I used to think, oh, they're the same. I can just mix them up all together, but no, they're not. Okay, I'll see how far I go with these before I add a different color. With my children, I had to custom make each of their learning based on their abilities. With the first 2, it was quite simple because it was just the 2 of them. So I really knew what they were like. And they both absolutely loved learning. And it just made things easy because I would buy books age-based and they will quickly go through them. That I'm the one who end up thinking, oh my goodness, they've finished this book already, what do I do? So I stopped looking at age eventually, so that by the time they were about 5, they were doing things that would be regarded as like age 8 or 9. And they kept me on my toes, learning so quickly that I sometimes felt like I couldn't keep up. But then once you get the hang of it, everything just flows. And another thing that I had were charts on the walls for the kids to, play and learn. I had the alphabet charts, I had numbers charts, and then I would go and buy books as well, random books anywhere, charity shops, car boot sales, and bookshops. That's what I did. And we actually had fun looking for books everywhere we could find them. Story books, reading books, factual books. So I did not stick to one particular book, and I don't also believe in sitting at a desk all day to learn. No, that's not fun. We did our learning in so many different places. Even when you go on holiday, we don't have to take books with us because books aren't only the source of information. You can learn from your environment. You can learn, when you're out and about. And that's the fun thing about it. That's the beauty of it. So if your children have never been to school, that's quite easy. You just start teaching them and you're good to go. But if they have been to school, here obviously you have to tell the school that you've decided to take your children out and home educate them, which is a very straightforward process depending on which country you live in. In the UK, it's very straightforward. You just need to sign a deregistration letter, fill it out, send it off to the school, and you're good to go. You don't even have to wait for a response. You can start as soon as you send that letter. So how do you decide if home education is for you? It just depends. If you want to do it, just do it. Just get started and start teaching and see how it goes. The good thing is, if it's not for you and you decide later on that, I shouldn't have done this, or circumstances changed, the option for going back to school is always there. Because circumstances do change, life changes, so many things happen, and you can think, okay, I think my child needs to go back to school. Then there's also an option called flexi schooling. Not all head teachers agree to it or allow it, but it's an option where your children go to school part-time. You have to find a head teacher that will allow it. It's up to the head teacher to allow it or not. So some do, some don't, a lot don't. But I've noticed more recently that there are some schools that allow it, but they say it's something to do with funding and grades, or they think that a child has to be in school every day and it won't be fair on other children who have to be at school every day. But it's not like every parent requests flexi schooling. It's not ideal for everybody because some parents just have to be at work and they cannot flexi school. So I don't agree with that argument that if children see one child being flexi schooled, then the whole school wants to do it. No, that's not always the case. I tried to look into that option a while ago, but the schools near me didn't allow it, so I didn't pursue it any further. I just left it at that. Okay, the good thing about baking in these trays is you actually bake in them and decorate in them when they've completely cooled, and you can package them. So you can leave them to bake, leave them to cool completely, and then you decorate. So while these are cooling down, you just leave them to cool down. In here I'll be making the buttercream, so I'm just going to put them to the side. In this bowl I have buttercream that I've used for something else, just remainder buttercream, so I need to make more. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use this as well. It's a bit hard because it's cold. I'm going to add more butter to this one and my icing sugar. With buttercream I don't usually make measurements because it's quite easy to do and not get wrong. So I'm going to add about 50 grams of butter. But also how much butter you need will depend on the design you want. So I have not decided on a design yet. So I will add about this much. I think this should be enough, because I'm going to whip it all together again and then use it. Actually, here I'll add a bit more. Good thing about buttercream, if you run out, you can always make more very easily. So my butter is a bit hard, so I'm just going to put it in the microwave for a few seconds just to soften it, and then I'll carry on. Okay, so this has been in the microwave softening, and I'm just going to whisk it first before I add my icing sugar. So the butter is nice and soft, and I'm going to add my icing sugar. Some vanilla extract. And a bit of salt. I'm also going to add some hot water. You can see it's got a tint of yellow. If you want to record to where I added the other butter, you notice that the buttercream was quite white, and you could see the contrast between the butter and the buttercream that I made before. So to make this white, you just need to mix even for about 10 minutes or until it's white. You don't need to add anything else to it. And the buttercream is ready, but the cakes are not. You can test the bottom of it, just put it on there or even on your cheek, but the back of your hand is good, and they're not hot. On the cheek, obviously don't do it if they're very hot, so if you think you're going to burn yourself, just do the back of your hand. And the heat is quite high, and the top is a bit cooler than the bottom, so you just leave them to cool completely, and don't rush them, because once you start putting your buttercream on top, if they're hot, it starts to melt. So I'm going to cover this and leave it. And then I'll get back to it when the cakes have cooled. Okay, it is ready. It's nice, smooth, and a great texture. Look at that. I just mix it just to make sure it's nice and smooth. I'm using this piping bag that I used for a previous recipe, so I'm just going to reuse it instead of throwing it away. So I'm just going to fill it up and put my buttercream in there, and just to start decorating the cakes. One of the most awesome things about home education is the term time holidays. We've been to the beach where we are literally the only ones on the beach. And sometimes you find elderly couples or some people walking their dogs, but it's nothing like I've seen on TV in the summertime. I've never been to a beach actually while it was peak time. Have you seen, like on the news, sometimes people are there with their umbrellas sitting on the beach, struggling to find a place to sit, or just all squashed together. I've never seen that, because we go to a resort and just walk onto the beach and there's hardly anyone there. And the term time holidays are also very cheap, so much cheaper than school holidays. Sometimes even like a fifth of the price or even less. It's crazy that for a family of 7, we've always really gone on holidays together as a family, 2 adults, 5 children over the years. And the holidays, if you look at the same place, let's say if you go to Center Parks or even Haven holidays, the beach holidays, if you look at the prices during term time and holiday and off peak, It's crazy. Peak times and off peak is a very huge difference. Sometimes in center parks, it's actually thousands of pounds of in difference. I remember we went to center parks one time during term time, and then I looked at the same holiday during the school holiday. I couldn't believe it. There were, I think, maybe even £2,000 difference. I really, really couldn't believe it. But anyway, that's a great perk of traveling during term time. You can also have holidays abroad. Plane tickets are so much cheaper, less people when you go on those holidays, and it's just nice. The children that you see on holidays are sometimes those children who are taken out of school during term time, because it's really close to unaffordable for most people to try and take their children on holidays during term time. So when we do go to some holidays, it depends exactly when we book, but we do find some children there, and the children get to play with other children. But some parents say, oh, we've taken them out of school so that they go on a holiday, because once it comes to holiday time, the prices are so restrictive. We can't afford a holiday otherwise. So yeah, that's a great perk of traveling during school holidays. There was one time I had to travel during a school holiday, and I couldn't believe the difference. Everything is so full. There were queues for swimming. We had to wait and get tags for swimming, and swimming time was limited. And it just was an awful experience, because everything that we wanted, we had to wait or we had to cancel. Not waiting. Waiting is not a problem as such. But when you're on a holiday and you have to wait for hours, sometimes you have to cancel things just because you had to wait for a long time. You have booking sessions, you have to go for swimming for maybe an hour instead for longer. So we've never had to experience that. That way it was all shocking, because all the other times we go, if it's not term time, the children can go swimming until they really don't want to swim anymore. You can do certain things until you really don't want to do it anymore. But when we went on the holiday time, school holiday time, it was a different thing altogether. It was a new experience actually. And then it just reminded me to understand and appreciate even more the holidays that we take during term time. So that's an added advantage. And one of the biggest things that I like and enjoy, even parks, when you go out to parks during term time, it is a lot quieter. Another thing that I noticed is when you do go to holidays during term time, there are a few things that are maybe a bit, let's say, inconvenient. It's not a very big deal, but there are certain activities that are not available when it's term time. For example, some things like clay making or painting, painting clay or stuff. Those classes, you'll find that they're either limited or not available at all unless it's a school holiday. So that might be one of those things that you might have to just tolerate or just find something else to do. And I like exploring new areas. So whenever we go to new areas, even if the place we're staying it doesn't have clubs or activities for children during that time, it's okay. We just take the bus or take the car, mostly the car, because when you go to a seaside holiday, it's usually far from everything else. The buses are not as regular. So we just get into the car, like say Exeter, we go to Exmouth, we go to somewhere closer. Like I remember when we went to York, Central York, we ended up going to the sea. There's Whitby close by and other areas. So we can base ourselves in one area and then travel within a certain mile radius to different places and come back to our base. And when we went to York, then we had the open top bus tour and stuff like that. And all this is during term time, so there are a lot less waiting times. You don't have to book your tickets way in advance. There's some things you have to book in advance, but if you go term time, you can just walk into a place. I remember there's a time we went to Oxford and we wanted to go to this other, I think it was a cathedral, but we couldn't even go because we had to book tickets in advance, and I didn't know at that time because we'd gone to Oxford for something else. My son was presenting in Oxford. He's my eldest, the home educated one. So he had a presentation. So when we went to Oxford to listen to his presentation, I took the others with me because that's the thing with home education. I always take the others. When someone's doing something, I take the others with me all the time. And this has happened from a very young age. So we wanted to go to a cathedral, but we couldn't even go in there because the tickets were sold out. But of course, this was a holiday time, so we've never had to experience that. And we just didn't go. But any other time, if you find something else, if it's term time, you know you can't book. But if it's off peak, you can just get to the cathedral and just go in, really, and pay tickets there. So anyway, I've been to quite a lot of places with the children, and it's nice that when you get to travel. And like I said, home education really is based on your budget. Whatever you can afford, tailor that to your holidays. And if you have a tight budget, you can save up for a holiday. Maybe once a year, you can pay in installments. The holidays where you can pay in installments and then just go at the end of the term. Those are really, really brilliant. And some places will ask for like a pass or proof that you're home educating to get student discounts. But you don't have to worry about this if you've got your own budget. No need to worry about that. Just go and pay childfare. It doesn't matter. Because there is no proof of home education, and a lot of places don't know this. They'll ask you, oh, where's the proof that you're home educating? And these are so beautiful. Those are wafer flowers that I was using for these cakes. They just come pre-made, ready-made in the shop, and I really like them. They're nice and good for this time of the year, spring or any other time. So now I'm going to put the lids on. Like I mentioned earlier, the lids can be different. I've experienced this before. So I've tried to put the right lid for the right one. So I'm just going to try and put this green one on. It's a bit of a struggle to put it on. I'm not sure why, but I did get it from the green box. And it's a bit fidgety. I've managed to put it on. I squished the icing a bit, but it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. And now for the next green one. This one went on a lot easier than the previous one. So they are the right lids. I just don't know why it happened with the first one. With the children, you can actually home educate from primary right through to high school and never have to attend school. My eldest and my second last born, they did the GCSEs at home. So never been to school until they went to school for the first time for the A levels at 16. And they did very well. My second last one right now is getting distinctions throughout. His older brother did the same thing. They're doing BTech in engineering. And yeah, they did well. They adjusted to school well, not had a problem at all in adjusting and learning, and they've always had fun learning. For that lid, I'm not sure why it's not going on either. So I'm just going to try a different lid for it. And you just have to be very patient with these lids because sometimes you don't get them on first time, like I did with this one. It just went on first time, but I was struggling with the other one. So just because a child has been to school, has been home educated and never been to school, does not mean they cannot adjust in any environment. Because some people think home education is like they're in solitary confinement, like they don't even socialize with anybody. But if you live in a society, you're already socializing. If you do decide to home educate until high school, the thing is you have to register your children for GCSEs as private candidates. So you can look for a college that offers GCSEs and see if you can register them there. If they allow you to register, then that's brilliant. I'm going to show you how to attach the spoon there. So if you don't want your design to be covered, you put the spoon on the side like that, and you attach it to there. I use ribbon to attach it. So I'm just going to put these ones to the side and show you just with one of these trays. So I've got this pack of ribbons I buy online together with the cases, and you just choose a color. I'm going to see a color that goes well with the pink. I think white will do, so I'm just going to go with the white ribbon. So when you want to register your children, you might have to pay. Actually, you will pay for GCSEs. And nowadays there are some places where they have centers where children can go and study the GCSEs. They are for home educated children. So they usually offer about 4 subjects, and they say home educated children can do 4 subjects, but I didn't want this option. I wanted my children to write 5 subjects. So if you find a center where they are funded for 4 subjects, you can pay for the 5th or the 6th or the 7th, whichever one you want, and they usually are subsidized. But if the center does not offer that facility for home educated children, you have to pay for the subjects, and it varies. It just varies. The prices can range from about 300 per subject, 200, and some people have had to travel from their houses and sleep overnight exam centers because they don't have exam centers near them. So you have to do your proper research, find out the proximity to test centers from where you live, and then see how much you have to travel. You have to factor this in. Also, don't miss deadlines for registration or exam registration. This is very important. You have to really think about the exam booking times, deadlines, and phone the colleges, even visit if you must, to make sure everything is booked. Now I'm just going to taste this cake. It is nice, fluffy. The fork goes in really, really well. And look at that texture, and they taste amazing. I've made this recipe so many times, so I know it tastes great, and it does taste great. They're worth trying. So thanks for watching, and I will see you again in the next video.